All right, we are live streaming. So, hello to all of you. Give you a minute to join. Wait here for a minute. Make sure. Okay. Looks like audio is good. Hello, Ashley and Chanello. Good to see you, ladies. Okay, so let's get right into topic today. So, we live in a world where people think it's supposed to be war with your teenagers. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Kaylin. But you don't have to live that way. You can have a pleasant life with teenagers. In fact, the teen years have been some of my personal favorites so far as a mom. You start transitioning into a relationship where you view your kids as adults. It's really fun seeing their different personalities come out and seeing their success as they start navigating life and all that life offers for them. They become your friends. They become some of your most loyal defenders and your biggest cheerleaders. If you lay the groundwork before they are teens, the years that they are teens can be very, very happy, peaceful years. So, if you're coming late into this and you have teenagers that you're like already battling with or they're rebellious, that's another topic for another day. But I'm focusing primarily on those of you that have little kids right now and you're trying to raise them into teenagers that, are pleasant and you'll have a happier relationship with. This is more geared towards you. So obviously, number one, you definitely need to start early with your kids. First of all, see your kids as individuals. Kids are all different. They all have different personalities. They all have different temperaments. They all have different quirks and different things that set them apart from their siblings. It's not a one size fits all approach when it comes to raising kids, when it comes to knowing what type of discipline or what type of cultivating your children will work for each child. It's all a little different based off temperament, based off of personality, etc. Um, so start seeing your kids as individuals, recognize their strengths and recognize their weaknesses. Know what their weaknesses are and know what their strengths are. And then you can kind of play to those as you're raising them. You know, you are going to know your child better than anyone. So that is one thing that God has given you. And whether that comes to just realizing that some kids can handle more than other kids, whether that's a day out, you know, for the whole day. One of your kids might be a trooper. They might be able to put up with it. Hannah's kind of like that. She's a trooper. Kelly, on the other hand, gets like very worn out very fast, very quickly. So, and Kelly's always been kind of my one that needs a little bit more downtime than Hannah. Hannah is just crazy, like crazy busy all the time. Anyone who knows Hannah knows that's true. I would say she would probably be diagnosed with ADHD if I took her to like a, regular doctor, pediatrician or something, which we do go for visits at occasionally when they need it. I take my kids to the doctor sometimes when they need it, if they're truly sick, but she is just full of energy. So she can handle go, 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 where Kelly might just need to you need to slow it down a little bit for her. Right. So you kind of know as a mom what your kids can handle, even in the form of a rebuke. Kelly or Hannah is very sensitive to criticism. In fact, she can tell just by looking at my face if I'm not happy with her. And if she even sees displeasure on my face, she falls apart. She falls apart. She falls to pieces. Needless to say, it's kind of easy though to discipline her because of that. It's easy to correct her because she responds even to my face just, not being pleasant. She'll respond to that. So some kids are like that. And then some kids, it takes different methods and different ways of knowing them. So get their hearts from the time that they are young, get their hearts. And how do we get our kids' hearts exactly? I don't know. I think it just comes with all of this stuff put together, getting your kids' heart. It comes with recognizing them as individuals, really learning them and knowing what their likes and dislikes are, making sure that they know how much you love them and care for them. So it's just getting their heart is not like this just real easy answer. It's kind of all the stuff that I talk about on the show, kind of all combined. That's that's kind of how. And I think our kids have always known from the time that they were little that their dad and I love them. They've always known that. And that has really helped guide them in their life. Even my older ones, they care very much about making us proud or disappointing us or whatever that may be. They care very much about that. And so I think just letting your kids know that you love them, that you're there for them, that is a huge thing. And even from the times our kids are little, we give explanations for why we do things. It's not just shut up and do it because I'm the boss. It's not been like that in our home. We obviously, when they're two and you're telling them not to cross the road because a car is coming, you can't sit there and explain all these answers. But you can explain when you're in your home why it's so important to obey mom, why it's so important to obey dad, because mom and dad sometimes know of dangers that they don't know about, and God gave them their parents to kind of be guardrails there until they're old enough to venture out on their own. So you can definitely explain things in more detail in your home. Obviously, there's going to be times when you have to be like, just listen to me because I'm the parent, but that shouldn't be just be the go-to of everything. So, another way to cultivate our relationship with our teenagers is by teaching them skills. And dads teach the boys skills, different things. Mom teach the girls different skills. And I know from my husband, from the time that the boys were old enough to be out in the yard with him, he would have them out there. So I have pictures. One of my favorite pictures ever is my husband mowing the lawn with his push mower, and we had gotten Tommy a little play pretend push mower, and Tommy's right next to him with this huge smile on his face with his little tiny toy lawnmower, getting ready to, and he would do the whole yard. He'd stay pace with my husband, and he thinks he's a big deal because he's mowing the lawn. But because my husband has invested in our boys from the time that they were young, like that, had him with him when he was doing chores, had him raking leaves, had him doing all this stuff outside with them, they really grew to respect him and love him and have a relationship with him. So even now, before Tommy makes decisions, he calls my husband a lot of the time just to kind of run it by him. And it definitely pays off when you do that. I just told it in the members live, but one of the things that made me really happy as a mom, and brag on Tommy now, which I think I'm going to try to get Tommy and Jenna on next week for the Gently Led Sisters to talk about their dating, courtship, their first year of marriage. So I'm hoping to get them on. He said he would do it. I haven't really ran it by Jenna. Hopefully, I know she's more of a shy nature when it comes to this stuff. So I haven't really ran it by her. And I don't know if Tommy would think it was weird if it was just him on the show. So I'm going to try to get them on a Zoom call next week. So just kind of going over their courtship and dating and kind of how we did things and how the first year of marriage has been for them so far. So hopefully look for that. But I brag on him a little bit. He just started helping the youth leader in his church. Like him and Jenna are helping them. They get to go to the youth activities. They get to be there in class with them. And he's really enjoying it. And he had this job. And Marta, I just told the story in the members live, but I'm telling it here, where he was picked to go through welding school. And he passed, and he's now a welder for Caterpillar. And there he was on first shift, but they were going to have to move him, and they were talking about moving him to second shift. And so he was panicking because he's like, I'm not going to miss church for this. Like, I'll find another job. And I'm like, well, that really stinks because you just became a welder and you need to get some experience with welding. Because now that you are a welder, you can pretty much get a job somewhere, but you need to build up some seniority at Caterpillar and stuff. Plus, he got a huge pay raise as soon as he became a welder. So, I told him, I said, my husband and I both told him, and we have a family group chat and we're always chatting in there throughout the day. But we said, you really need to talk to HR because I know people get religious exemptions all the time. So he did. And they came to an agreement where if he got put on second shift, they were going to let him leave for like 3 hours so that he could go to church, do church, and then come back. So he just had to be back by a certain time. But I was so proud of him because most Christians would be like, well, they're putting me on second shift. I can't make Wednesday night. But he was so determined that he was not going to be missing Wednesday night church that he put in the request and they said yes. Ended up he got third shift, which he's thrilled with. So now he won't go to into work till 11 p.m. So that works out better anyways. But it's just nice because now he has the testimony at work that he's a Christian and he doesn't miss church on Wednesday nights, which most Christians would just roll over because they think, well, I can't lose this job, So it's when you see your kids start making decisions like that and standing up for what they know is right, that's where this just all pays off. It all comes full circle. So I'm hoping that he can raise his kids. My phone is going crazy. It's like buzzing over there. I don't know what's going on. But I'm hoping he can raise his kids in the way where they wouldn't want to miss church even for a Wednesday night as well. So but that comes down to his dad really instilling that, his mom, me and his dad instilling that in him. And just, church is super important. You need to be there. Obviously, there's going to come some times when you might have to miss a Wednesday night here or there, but overall, this should be the goal. You go to church 3 times a week, right? So, and then with my girls, have your teenage girls be there with you as you're doing things, as you're, even with my piano teaching business, I got Abby into it and I'm able to teach her kind of this is how you run this side thing, you know, um, this is how, and I have full confidence in Abby and Chloe, and now Allie's even coming up into this being 14, where they can run a home pretty much by themselves. But just running a home, that can help you with so many other things. All the childcare all the childcare things that Abby did with her younger siblings is now helping her as she works towards a childhood development associates. That's what she's doing right now. And she's doing great in her daycare job and loves it. And she's working with children. And it just opens up a lot of opportunities when your kids are just smart and capable and know how to do things. It sets them up for success in their life. And that's on you as the parent. And so that's why I take homeschooling seriously and why it's just consistency, day in, day out, just getting it done. You can't just let days and days and days go by without doing school because those days turn into years and those years turn into decades. And you are the one setting your child up for success. So get them into their basics, or 5 basics at least. Good foundation of math, good foundation of reading comprehension, and reading skills. You need to get that instilled in them. So pay attention to their friends and who they communicate with, because this is a big deal in a teenager's life. Know their friends, spend time with their friends. For us, we set boundaries for dating relationships early. Our rule of thumb is not before 18. And are there 17-year-olds ready to get married somewhere? Possibly, but not mine. So that's just kind of a rule we have. We want them, responsibility in marriage is for life. And once they get married, it's for life. So we want them to enjoy the little bit of childhood and be a kid as long as they can. So that's kind of the McMurtry rule. And they know that. Make sure they know the boundaries when it comes to direct messages and things. Do you want a boy direct messaging them? Do you want a girl direct messaging them? If not, tell them they need to put some boundaries in place. There's been times in the past with both my girls and boys where they've had someone try to DM them. And because we've also raised them not to be mean to people, they were wondering how to do it in a way where the person got the hint, but they weren't like super rude or something. So, you can kind of coach them through that. Tell them what to watch for because there are predators online. Now, when it comes to social media and things, we don't really allow it very early. We don't allow an actual phone with data and minutes and all that until they're driving. So once they get their driver's license, that's kind of their graduation into a real phone. Then when they're about 16, we've let our girls get Instagram. We've let them get Facebook when they're about 18. But then even some of my kids go through phases where they'll like delete Facebook. Like I don't even think Abby's on Facebook right now. So we kind of leave that up to them. We're like, we're going to be your friend. I want to see what you're doing on there. So Allie, as of right now, has no social media. She's only 14 and a half. Chloe has Instagram and Be Real, and that's about it. So I think we're kind of making her wait for Facebook. I don't know. I feel like Facebook has more drama than any other platform. And they need to show that they're trustworthy, even with a platform like Instagram, before they go on to something where, they're going to be leaving comments or something. So we kind of try to teach them about that. And then remember, kids will find a way to sneak around if you don't communicate these things early and often. So we try to always communicate what our expectations are. I try to give my kids boundaries, but yet enough freedom to where they won't feel like they're in prison and they won't feel like they have a need to sneak around. And there are things that they have to look forward to, like Allie with her phone, even though she's been bugging me forever about a phone. Um, she's looking forward to the day when she gets one. She's looking forward to the day. I think she's going to be like my social media queen, knowing Allie. And so she's looking forward to the day when she finally is allowed to have those things. And um, they have to kind of prove themselves trustworthy in different areas before we kind of allow free range of those things. So, but how do we get to this heart of having a good relationship with our teenagers? Well, number one, you just have to talk to them. And I think a big key to this too is not treating them like little kids. My 17-year-old is obviously on a different playing field than my 5-year-old. And I'm not going to talk to my 17-year-old like she's my 5-year-old. So there's definite difference there. And as a mom of many, it is kind of different hats that we're putting on throughout the day, right? You have your hat that you put on when you're like talking to your 5-year-old and dealing with issues. And then you've got your teenage mom hat that you put on when you're dealing with those issues. And it's like a big switch. Okay, I'm going from this to now I'm switching into this mode of conversation. It is definitely a juggling game, but our teenagers need us to be there for them. And there are times when I will have to send the littles into another room just so I can focus on the issue at hand with the teenager, because teenagers have bigger issues than 5-year-olds and 3-year-olds. That's just the fact of the matter. So oftentimes I will have to say, Kelly, I will get to you in a minute. I'm dealing with this right now, and so then I'll pay attention to the conversation at hand, put down the phone, pay attention, you know, um, keep on top of things, like even insignificant things with your girls about their cycles. And we're pretty open about this in our home. I want my girls to have a very good knowledge of it going into marriage. And it's also just a fact of life. And when you have 6 daughters, stuff like this is going to come up a lot. So we're very open about different times of the month. We're very open about what's going on. Know how regular your girl's cycles are, because that's a good sign of her fertility down the road. You need to know if there's any issues like endometriosis, PCOS, stay on top of dental things. If they have horribly crooked teeth, look into braces, investing in braces. I've had braces. All of my siblings had braces. Thank goodness I married a man with very straight teeth, even though he has a little gap between his first 2 teeth. That's actually good because his mouth has room for his teeth. That was my problem. All my teeth were constricted and I didn't have room for all of them. So they all kind of overlapped and were crooked. But thank goodness I married a man with straight teeth, and all of our children have had straight teeth. It's a miracle. 8 kids, and we've not had the need for braces at all. But I do stay on top of taking them to the dentist. If you let a tooth go long enough, that can really develop into problems down the road. So get that taken care of. We chose to have the children, so we need to keep on top of their health issues. We need to keep on top of everything that's going on in their life. So we need to take it seriously as moms. And it's a lot of work, but it is definitely doable. So yeah, for my teenagers, I don't treat them like little kids. The same way that I punish my little kids is not how I'm going to punish my older children. Just because I swap the 5-year-old, it does not mean I'm going to swap my teenagers. And I know there's different school of thought out there, but I would also encourage you to, before you make a decision for your family, look at the fruit of those that you follow. If you like the fruit of those that spank their teenagers, by all means, keep doing their methods if you want the same result. But if you like the method or you like the fruit, if you like the fruit of those who have raised teenagers without the need for physical corporal punishment, then follow them. But once again, this all starts early with getting their hearts. If you have your children's hearts, I have found that as teenagers, they do not need physical discipline. And normally the cutoff for us is about 12 or 13. Sometimes as early as 11, 10, depending on the child. Some children are very, very, very sensitive to physical correction. And, you should not be going crazy on your children when it comes to this. Um, it should not be a big deal. It should not be 40 lashes save one. It should not be that excessive. So, but do age appropriate discipline. We do not use physical corporal punishment on our teenagers. I feel like it breeds a sense of bitterness and anger more than anything. Maybe this is just coming off personal experience myself. And so I determined that I was going to do things a little bit differently with my kids. And I have. And so far, so good. So by the time that our kids are about 12, they really have a desire to please us. And that desire to please us, it's why Christians, it's the point Christians should get to, right? We have a desire to serve a Savior because we love him. And that's why we follow his commandments. He's not up there with a whip, like cracking at it at us. And we're not sitting here fearful, like, oh, if I don't do this, no, we do it because we love him and because we don't want to displease him. It's the same exact thing with kids. If you can get them to the point where your kids don't necessarily live in fear of you because you're going to crack the whip at them, but they love and respect you, and they have such an intense fear, not intense fear, but they don't want to displease you. They don't want to displease you. They want to bring you joy. They want to bring you happiness. And I think every kid wants to with their parents. We have the desire in us. It's a natural desire to want our parents to be happy with us. So if you can get your kids to that point, then by the time they're a teenager, they're not going to need a spanking. They're going to need you to just, yeah, we've gotten after our teenagers when it comes to stuff. We've really gotten after them, but verbally, and that's usually all it takes. So verbally, we've gotten after them, and that's pretty much that can straighten out our teenagers. Now, maybe I'll have one eventually. Haven't come to that. You might have one eventually. Maybe you didn't get their heart when they were younger. You might need to find different methods though, because you don't want to discipline your 15-year-old like your 5-year-old. And you should be able to lead them and train them in a way where you can do it differently than a child. So I noticed with my teenagers, being treated the age that they are rather than a little kid is huge to them. Give them responsibility. So expect a lot out of them when it comes to things. Um, your 17-year-old should be able to take a trip to the store, get what needs to be done, and come home, without any diversions or without sneaking off to watch a movie or something. Give them responsibility, let them prove themselves. Don't just not trust them. Well, they're a teenager. I'm not going to trust them because all teenagers are evil. No, all teenagers aren't evil. There's some, yes, but not all. And it's not the norm to have a rebellious teenager. Don't let people trick you and let you think that it's a normal thing for Christian teens, especially, to be rebellious. I have known hundreds of Christian teens that were not rebellious, that were living in perfect harmony with the relationship with the Lord and with their parents. So that's just a lie, probably told by someone who has rebellious teenagers themselves and is just trying to excuse it. Don't let them fool you into thinking that that's the norm. That's not the norm. So how do we cultivate this relationship with girls, especially in the area of self-esteem? Self-esteem can be kind of like a bad, dirty word, but it's not wrong for girls to have a healthy self-esteem. I'm talking about one where they don't hate themselves, they don't hate their physical features, but yet they're not also lifted up with pride. They're not arrogant, they're not self-centered. How do we cultivate this? Well, just remember that words do matter, When it comes to girls, especially girls, I've noticed boys can take more of a beat down when it comes to like verbal tongue lashings. Boys can take more of it. I'm not going to say that it's not important to with boys, but girls especially, they remember everything you say about their physical appearance, about their personality, um, about them just being desirable as a woman. You know, if you say things like, no man will ever want you, you're so ugly, I can't stand the sight of you. You know, if you're saying things like that, they'll remember that for the rest of their life. It will like run through their head forever. And I've often told the story. I remember still when my mom gave me a compliment when I was a teenager and told me she loved it when I smiled because it makes my eyes sparkle. And I've always remembered that. And that's one thing where be, her words like really, really, they helped me in a good way. You know, they helped me in a good way um, when it came to just using my smile freely, you know, using my smile freely. And I've always remembered those words. So that was said to me when I was like 15 or 16, and I've never forgotten. So your words are very powerful. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Stupid phrase. That is a really stupid phrase. And it's one said without any knowledge of how false that really is. Words do matter, and words will be remembered forever. So just remember that when talking to your girls. How you see yourself is often how they see themselves. So if I'm constantly down on my physical looks, I'm so fat, I hate my hair. Why did God give me these eyes, this eye color? I hate my shape. You know, if I'm constantly just saying that about myself, especially if your daughter looks like you, that's going to be going through her head. Well, mom doesn't think she's pretty. Mom's always down on herself. So man, I must be really ugly, or I must be really fat, or, you know, whatever. So they kind of often treat themselves how their mothers treat themselves, or, you know, talk about themselves. Girls are very, very sensitive to your comments, especially girls. And as a mom, you have the power to build her up or tear her apart. And I don't know why any mother would want to tear apart her daughters. So we have the power to breathe life into our children, or we also have the power to destroy our children, verbally speaking. We can destroy them in 2 seconds with mean words, or we can build them up and give them something to remember for the rest of their lives. So take it very seriously. Encourage your daughters to use their gifts for the Lord. Um, we were just at a ladies thing, and I loved one of the lessons that one of them did. She talked, Mrs. Barbara Zaris. She was awesome. I would love to have her on here. She's 75 years old, and she is just a full package of spit fire sassiness. And I loved her. I love women like that for obvious reasons. Um, but she's just been faithful serving the Lord. They planted a church. Her husband runs a radio ministry. She raised 6 children. And she was really encouraging everyone that God gave you gifts. Find out what your gifts are and use them for the Lord. And so your daughters, all of your daughters have a gift that they can use for the Lord, whether that's organizational skills. You know, Abby is very organized where I am not. I'm not very organized. Now I have to be somewhat because of everything I do. And that's pretty much on my phone. My whole life is on my phone. But I'm talking like she's organized with everything. She like organizes her thoughts and puts them in books. And she really has gifts when it comes to like doing parties around the church and organizing things. So she plans all the baby showers. Her and Morgan do Christmas dinner. That is her gift. That is not my gift. And I'm fine with that. Like, so I have encouraged her to use that, and she does a beautiful job with it. Chloe's always been very crafty. That's not my gift either. But Chloe also has the gift of gab and the gift of just being a hard worker. She's a really, really hard worker. So that served her really well this summer when she was at camp. She can put up with a lot when it comes to just physical loads, mental loads. She's got grit, right? And so that really helped her. Allie, she's just like me. So pretty much my gifts are her gifts. She's Cassandra McMurtry in a 14-year-old form. She is me at 14. So And it's really neat seeing your daughters as they grow up, seeing all these little gifts come out. And some of it they come by honestly, like Allison. Some of it you're like, you got that from your grandma. You did not get that from me because Abby is just like my mother-in-law. And so it's really fun seeing different genetics come out in different temperaments and personalities. Sometimes I'm like, did my mother-in-law raise you? Because she acts so much like my mother-in-law. And I'm like, how are you my daughter? But then I see other little things come out and I'm like, okay, you are my daughter because that's totally for me. So make sure, yes, exactly, Rachel. And I think we all have the capability of being that voice in someone's head that we don't intend to be. The voice of they'll never forget the words we said to them. Ugh. And may they only remember nice things. I'm not talking about being stern. There's a time and a place where you have to be like, you need to stop now. And I will do that with my teenagers. But like I said, they're to the point where I can do that and they straighten up. That doesn't take much more than that. I'll say, you've done enough. You need to stop. I don't want to hear another word. Like, okay, we've talked about it. We're to this point now where mom's the one in charge. So you need to stop. And I will do that with my girls, my teenagers. I will do that at times. And it's not every day. It's not all the time, but there will be situations that pop up where that needs to be done. And then if you have their hearts and they're not in rebellion, they'll listen to you. So make sure that your girls' relationship with their dad is strong. This is the number one thing to teaching your girls to say no to the wrong guy. Is if they have a strong relationship with their dad, if they see their dad and mom have a good marriage relationship, they're going to want one like that. So they're going to eliminate men that they don't think would rise to that occasion or, be as good of a man as their father. So I can't encourage you enough to make sure your daughter's relationship with their dad is strong. And one way that you can do that is by you never tear down their dad to them. You don't rip him apart. You don't go on about how annoying he is. You only say nice things. You only say pleasant things, et cetera, et cetera. So doing things one-on-one while having a big family. This can be a little bit more tough, but as your kids get older, I've found normally your financial situation changes for the better the older your kids get. And with me, I know that that is the case. So one thing I really like to do is I like to travel. And I've determined that every 2 years, I'm going to take an international trip and I'm going to take the next one in line with me so that we can build good memories together. They'll always have these memories of going to Europe or Switzerland or London or whatever with their mom. So Abby was London this past year. In 2 years, so not 2025, but 2026, Chloe will be 19. I want to go to Switzerland or Germany probably is on the list, but Germany intimidates me a little bit more because of the language barrier. So for now, I'm sticking to countries that speak English primarily. So that's why I say Switzerland. Possibly New Zealand, Australia. Those are all on the bucket list for those watching from those places. So those are all on the bucket list. But for me, traveling is big. And then even for birthdays, we'll do something special. Like me and like Abigail and I, when she turned 18, we went to Chicago for the night. We went to Lincoln Park Zoo, saw the Christmas lights because her birthday is always the end of November. So we're full into Christmas season. Saw the Christmas lights, had a lot of fun. She brought her cousin with, and then we spent the night in a hotel. So I'll do little things like that. It's not super expensive, but it is. Ooh, Scotland is definitely on the bucket list. Definitely on the bucket list. Scotland would be pretty cool. I don't know if McMurtry is Scottish or I know I'm pretty sure McMurtry is Scottish, if I'm correct. Although when we were in Ireland, we were looking through like names that had crests and stuff, and we did find McMurtry there in Ireland. So I don't know if it's like primarily Irish or Scottish, but obviously my husband has family from one of those countries. So Elena said, nope, Germany is not that nice. Yeah, I primarily want to see for the historical aspect of it. I do want to see some concentration camps and different things like that. France, I've heard mixed things about France. So I don't know. Throw out any of your ideas. I have the whole world at my disposal. So, and my whole life ahead of me, right? Hopefully. So those are all on McMurtry. McMurtry? Hmm. McMurtry. That's very interesting. Having a name like McMurtry, everyone pronounces it different ways. Most oftentimes they say McMurdy. They leave the R out. I've never heard McMurtry though. But it does have its benefits because when people make horrible, nasty clips against you, they usually spell your name wrong. So then it's not going out there as often because the name's spelled wrong. So it does have its benefits having a name that's hard to spell. So yes, traveling is big for us. Birthdays, grocery dates. I do grocery dates. Also coffee runs. I rotate. For me, I go every Wednesday, pretty much every Sunday and Wednesday, but I rotate the girl that I'm getting coffee for. So I kind of want that to be like a good memory. My girls are spoiled because when I was growing up, we never got coffee. We barely ever got McDonald's. Okay. So our kids are definitely living in a different era than millennial kids and what was the one before millennial? I like just missed the cutoff date. I just squeezed in. I was born millennial. The millennial generation started January 1981, and I was born in January 1981. So I just made it. My husband was born November of 1980. So he just missed the cutoff date, which he brags about all the time. So I'm like an early, the first millennial that you could be. I'm considered millennial, even though I don't feel like I am, but I am. And then, yeah, so I'll do coffee runs with my girls, rotating who gets one. So what about when it comes to having battles with teens? Because there will be some battles to be fought. Even if you have a really good relationship with your teenagers, which we do, even though there is no rebellion, which we don't have rebellion at this time. And I say this, and I'm on my fifth teenager. Okay, so I only have 3 left after this. Maybe Lana will throw me for a loop. I don't know. We still actually have more battles with Lana than anyone at 10. I'm finding 10 to 14 is the toughest age for me personally. If you have any other experiences, let me know. But 10 to 14, that's kind of when pushing boundaries, the sassing's at an all-time high. The fighting with the siblings is at an all-time high. 10 to 14 is it for my family. So I'm on my 5th teenager now. But there are things that you have to work through because they're going to push boundaries no matter what age they are. And so for us, we have clear guidelines that won't budge so they know what to expect. And that's why, hence, we've kind of come up with some of the rules. No dating until you're 18, no cell phone until you're 16 and have your driver's license, no Instagram until you're 16, no Facebook until you're 18. Like we kind of have clear guidelines that we go by. And then, we get to the heart of whatever issue that they're struggling with. So we'll stand firm on some things, but there's been things that are negotiable, such as our teenagers getting a job, such as our kids going to college. So when it comes to those things, we are very level-headed. We'll talk it out and we'll get to the bottom of it and we'll usually reach a compromise. I know for my boys, my husband told my boys, I want you to work a couple years. If you decide to go to Bible college or college, that's fine. I don't care. But let's get a couple years of work under your belt and save up for it so that you can pay for it. And that's kind of the compromise that we reached. He also said, since they were working for Walmart distribution center, since it's paying for your schooling, let's get a year, get a career diploma in that through Penn Foster. They're paying for it and then go to college. And that's exactly what Tommy did. He saved up. He did his year of Penn Foster. He got his career diploma in plumbing, which he's not even using. That's all right. It's just, it's an accomplishment. They're able to do that. And also because he had that career diploma, he didn't have to do any testing when he went to Bible college. They just kind of accepted that as like an associate's. So, he was able to go to Bible college without further testing or anything. So that was kind of nice too. So we've had clear guidelines, but we've also worked with each child depending on what they wanted to do, whether that comes to pursuing a member of the opposite sex, career options, college, jobs, whatever it is, we've worked with them. If your kid is just like has a big calendar and is crossing off the X's until they turn 18 and their bags are packed by the door the night before they turn 18. And then they turn 18 and they grab their bags and run out of your house. Something is wrong. If they're trying to escape as soon as they turn 18, there's something off in the home. And it's up to you to figure out what that is. Are you making it like a war zone? Is it like a prison where they have zero freedom? Are you treating them like a little kid? Are you disciplining them like a little kid still when they're 17 the night before they turn 18? Something's off if that's going on. Home should be a refuge. It should not be a war zone. Learn to come to a compromise. Every kid's going to be different. So you're going to have to do things differently with one than you didn't with the other. Don't make things into sin that aren't a sin, such as voting, which I just wrote. I know that's in my mind because voting is tomorrow. I see a lot of Christians trying to make voting into a sin, and I think that's ridiculous, especially if there are different bans and stuff like abortion bans that are on the docket, and you're telling Christians not to vote. But yet, if they don't vote, this abortion ban might get stopped or, might get pushed through. There's heartbeat laws that people vote on when it comes to whatever's on the ballot. So for me, I'm always going to choose the thing that will offer more pro-life stances when it comes to laws and bills and different things like that. But I'm also not going to demonize someone who feels like their vote doesn't count. And so they just don't vote. Okay. But I'm just saying, don't do it from either side. So an example, like if you vote or don't vote, turning something into a sin, that's what I'm talking about. Don't take something that is not clearly mandated in the Bible and turn it into a sin. Okay. So we have to be really careful that when it comes to raising our kids, pick your battles. So for me, things like makeup, jewelry, fingernail polish, whether or not they have nails or don't have nails, that's not an issue for me. I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. And I've never had one that's pushed it when it comes to this. In fact, I probably wear more makeup than my girls do. And I give them that option. I don't keep that from them. But by the time they're 14 or 15, they're more than, I don't care. I don't care if they wear fingernail polish. I let my 3-year-old, she's not 2. I let my 3-year-old wear fingernail polish. So that's not a big deal to me. I've never had one that's pushed the boundaries. I've never had one that wanted to like goop on the eyeshadow or put fake eyelashes on or, wanted to color their hair purple or something. We've never had that. So for us, it's a non-issue. I've just not made things like how old they are when they shave. I've not made things like that into a big deal. Now, there are some clear-cut things my husband has decided, and we've gone along with that, and the girls have never complained. But that's just how we do things in our house. Figure out in your home what's a negotiable and what's not a negotiable, and then just stick with it. Give up the non-important things. Teach them that we do things in our life because they're biblical, not just because so-and-so is doing this. Well, my favorite pastor, he's raising his family this way, so we're going to do it this way. No, the McMurtry's, we're kind of unique in the way that we do things. We don't fit into a certain mold or a certain group. So we raise our kids based off of principle and our own convictions and based off what's clear in the Bible and what's not clear. One thing that's clear for us is clear-cut dress standards. A girl should look like a girl and a boy should look like a boy when that comes to their hair, when that comes to their clothing, when that comes to, obviously, I don't care if my girls wear fingernail polish, but I'm definitely not going to let my boys wear fingernail polish. We believe even tattoos are a sin because of the verses about not making markings or cuttings in your flesh. So we try to teach that to our kids from the time that they're young. And we try to have clear biblical principles to why we do it. There's things that the IFB harps on, like movie theaters, beards, white shirts in the pulpit. And I think it's ridiculous because it's a total political man-made doctrine that they've come up with. If you're going to outlaw movie theaters, you need to outlaw any movies at all on your phone. You need to outlaw any movies at all in your home. So, in fact, I used to hear it in the 70s. Old preachers would say, they don't know what movie you're going to when you walk into the movie theater. Yeah, they don't know which movie you're watching in your home either. So that doesn't even make sense. I say, why don't you have a baseline guideline for your family? We're only going to watch PG movies. We're only going to watch G movies, and then eliminate all the rest. Okay. So have your guideline for your home and then just have that standard. But so many people are just, they don't have a biblical basis for why they do things. It's more, well, the IFB's always done it this way. So we're different in the fact that we kind of don't fit into a mold or a group. We kind of just do things based off conviction and principle. So let your teens live with the consequences of their decisions, whether that comes down to now, when my boys have work jobs, I have never woken them up. They're on their own. Like they need to learn how to set an alarm and get up. So they do. And if they sleep in, that's on them. And they have to learn the consequence of that. And they have both been super good about never being late for work, never oversleeping. So they've grown up with that character. But lastly, what are some joys of having teens? I love teenagers. I heard someone say once that they never used to cuss until they had teenagers and then they started. And I'm like, what in the world? Something is definitely off then if your teenagers are just making you cuss. Yes, teenagers can be irritating because sometimes they act like they know it all and they don't. But overall, my teenagers have brought a lot of joy to my home. You get to see them start making good decisions, like following in the way that you have taught them, like Tommy with church. He's choosing church, he's choosing to go to church, he's choosing to take a stand to go to church. You get new in-laws, as my kids have been in relationships and I'm starting to see them. One's married, one's engaged, one's in a relationship. It is so neat to see the different personalities, first of all, they meld with, and then also our family is growing and we're getting all these new personalities in our home. And my heart is growing along with all my in-law kids that join my family. So hopefully soon we'll have grandkids, and then that's even more of a joy. Your family grows. You get to see the melding of two lives. I'm talking about me and my husband. We get to see our melding of two lives and two personalities and two sets of genetics, like, create these children that are so crazy and amazing and awesome. And, you just have your own personal army. If you raise them right, they're going to be like defending you and sticking up for you. And, my oldest son, he is now 22 and he's out of my home. There's no holding him back. He will go on the warpath for his dad because he loves his dad and he respects his dad. And he knows all this stuff out there is lies, like all these attacks and stuff. He knows that they're all lies. So he will be known to defend both of us. And he's even been picked on the fact that he will defend us. But that makes my heart happy because my son is willing to go to bat for his dad and go to bat for me. And that just makes me happy. So you get your own personal army backing you up, and kids are just fun. Teenagers are just fun. It's really fun having conversations with them. They make me laugh. Yes, it can be frustrating at times, but the joy definitely outweighs the bad when it comes to teenagers. I've enjoyed every single process of raising kids. 10 to 14 can be a little hairy, and then once again, 19 until about they get married, that can be a little hairy, but along the way, there's just so much joy. Having children walk in the way of the Lord is seriously the best part about having kids. Seeing them happy, best part about having kids. Seeing them successful, best part about having kids. Seeing them raise their families in church, best thing about having kids. Having a relationship with your adult kids makes every trial worth it. It makes every heartache worth it. It makes every late night talk with it worth it. It makes every tear you cried and every prayer that you prayed and every worry that you had and every minute that you invested in your children, it makes it all worth it. So when you are pouring your heart into these little kids, just remember that someday you're going to have the biggest returns on that. You're going to have the biggest returns on that investment. Being a mom is the hardest thing I've ever done, even harder than being a wife, I believe. Being a mom is the hardest thing that I have ever done. But being a mom has also brought the most peace and the most sense of fulfillment and the most sense of accomplishment into my life. Hands down. Being a mom is the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. And having children, adult children, teenage children, having children that love me and wrap their arms around me and still tell me they love me. And that is another thing that's very important for teenagers. You have to tell them you love them. Tell them you love them every day. Tell them you love them every time you say goodbye to them on the phone. Tell them you love them in chats. Send them reels that say, I love you. They need to hear it from you. They need to know that they're loved by their parents. And if you love your parents, or if you love your parents too, if you love your children and they know you love them, love covers a multitude of sins. Love will cover all your mistakes. They will overlook your mistakes. They will be forgiving because they know that you love them. But if there is no love there, there will only be bitterness there and anger and unforgiveness. So you have to make sure as a parent that you are loving your teenagers well. You're telling them you love them. You're spending time with them. You're listening to them. You're investing in them, and it will pay off. I promise you, it will pay off. Disclaimer, everything I said is how we do things in my family. It doesn't mean I'm telling you that you should do this in your family. You do what's best for your family. You do what your husband deems is best for your family. I have to put that disclaimer. I'm going to do like one of those medical things at the end of each thing. I'm just going to like put a pre-recorded one on. Disclaimer. I am not telling you how to run your life. I am not telling you what to do. I am just telling you what has worked in my life. So if you like me and my husband's fruit, if you like the results that you're seeing from my children, then follow my advice. If you hate the results that you see in my children, then don't follow my advice. So I'll just put that out there. And I am done. I got to see why my phone's been buzzing, going crazy. I think a bunch of messages came through from my kids or something. So I will let you guys go. I'm hoping to get Tommy and Jenna on next week. Jenna might kill me, but I'm hoping to get them on next week, and that'll be fun. That'll be a fun episode. So hopefully I can get that on, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great week. Go love your husband. Go love your children. Keep loving the Lord, and we will.